you're not happy with it, you can, thank you. You can switch your camera off, but you're still welcome to ask questions using the chat message. Okay. If everyone is ready, if you're ready, Tomasz, we can start. Good afternoon to all of you. Well, afternoon to all of you based in Europe, and welcome to all of you to the webinar called Technology at the Service of Independent Media. My name is Slavek Blich, and I'm a deputy managing editor at Krytyka Polityczna, which is the largest progressive media organization in Poland. And this webinar is brought to you by Krytyka and its partners, and it is a part of a series of meetings of the European Union-funded Come Together project, in which several independent media organizations have joined forces to build their resilience and sustainability in the media business sector. This meeting, as I said, will be recorded, and it will be available later on at the eurozine.com website. All of you are welcome to ask questions using the chat function anytime. And also we will welcome questions after the first part of the webinar where you can use your camera on. This meeting is set to provide some valuable insights into realms of independent journalism. We will delve into the critical aspects of utilizing technology in professional journalism and explore topics such as audience analysis, conscious data utilization, and the construction of effective strategies for independent media. I hope you will find this webinar inspiring, especially when you are here to explore ideas that can genuinely inspire and work within the constraints of Central and Eastern Europe's smaller media markets, where the dominance of English-speaking global market may not be as influential as elsewhere. And this is why I'm so delighted to welcome Tomas Bella, who is Chief Digital Officer at Dennik N, an independent daily newspaper with a focus on high-quality long-form journalism. Dennik N is operating with great success in Slovak, Czech, and Hungarian markets, and it also contributes to the industry through the development of open source subscription software called RAMP 2030. We will hear more about that from Tomasz later on. Our distinguished guest, Tomas Bella, brings a wealth of experience and has been recognized as one of the world's 50 leading innovators in journalism and media. It is our pleasure to welcome you, and over to you, Tomas.
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation. I see that there are a lot of different professions on this call. So there are some developers, there are some online people, there are some marketing people, journalists. So it will be, my presentation will be also a little bit of from everything. As Slavek said, you can write your questions even during the presentation to the chat, and I will either reply on that spot, or we will get back to those questions at the end, or you can also ask at the end with the video as well. So I want to quickly tell you a story that kind of in last 10 years, I'm always starting my presentations with this one slide. This is not this one picture. This is not my newspaper. It's the old newspaper where I used to work for 10 years. And the front page is showing, the front page is from 2014, and it's showing empty newsroom. And the newsroom was empty on that day because on that day, local oligarch here in Slovakia actually bought a big part of half of the newspaper. And together with my colleagues, about 40 of our colleagues, we have decided that we don't want to work for this guy because he was connected, and he's still connected with the biggest corruption scandals in the country. And there are many hours of recordings of him doing things that nice people shouldn't be doing. So we decided, okay, we will quit this newspaper and we will establish our own. And so we can write whatever we want. So this was in 2014, and we kind of, in retrospect, we kind of made a business plan that looks not very smart, So the first point was, let's only focus on the most expensive things, which means we will not really do a lifestyle. We will not do kind of a lot of articles that can bring a lot of traffic, but we will actually focus on the investigative journalism. We will focus on long form. We will focus on analysis and so on. So basically the most kind of most expensive kind of stuff, the stuff that actually takes journalists the longest to create. The second point, again, this is a strategy and retrospect, but in reality, we were the first 40 people that started the newspaper were kind of self-selected from the old newspaper, and those were the people who most wanted to write whatever they wanted without like any outside influence. So for example, there was no sports department, there were no sports people leaving, but most of the domestic news department was there because there's political influence is strong there as well, and so on. And we kind of took this to the extreme. So even like our first website was built by a reporter, like when we were just in like complete chaos in the first month, and we were trying to get something up and running, we realized one of the reporters actually had some experience and he was doing some WordPress websites, as a side hobby. So he built the first website, and of course it crashed after 1 month and so on. But even like one of the journalists became the CEO, another journalist, me, I was deputy editor-in-chief before. I became head of online and so on. So it was kind of like very strange setting, and still until now that we have like very strong culture of kind of hiring journalists and no one else. And third, at that point, we didn't really have a lot of good ideas about how to build a business model, because honestly, like everyone was telling us that this is completely crazy. There were many publishers like that in the region, as you know, in Poland, as Czech Republic, in Hungary, where people were leaving the oligarch-owned newspaper and kind of starting a new ones, but it was always like 5 people, 10 people, 20 people maximum. And we said, no, like we actually want to do something on big scale. We actually want to compete directly with the old publishers. And how to build a business model around this. So it was kind of easy to decide, because the oligarch actually went around and was saying that he will try to prevent anyone from advertising with us. So we said, okay, our only chance is actually subscriptions, so we will focus on subscriptions, nothing else. And either in 3 to 6 months, we will have enough people paying for these, or we will actually shut down. And of course, most of the people thought we would shut down, but it was the thing. This is my favorite photo. It's our CEO in our living room, actually, in the first month, and replying to the help desk questions. I put it on the slide to show, okay, this was a couple of months after the launch. This was how our stuff looked like. So there was basically only journalism and nothing else. This one software developer, that's the guy who was a journalist before. And now, luckily, he's again a journalist. But there was no, like, we kind of went the way of outsourcing everything that we don't have to do ourselves. This is how it looks after 10 years. You can see that basically we are still only growing 2 things. So we are still hiring journalists in quite like a big scale, So we went from 40 to 120 people, but really most of them were journalists. And we grew a software development department, and that's almost all. There is almost also like third like growth in book publishing. So for the first couple of years, we were telling to ourselves, okay, we want to have one competence, and that's journalism. But then very, very quickly we realized, okay, we actually have to have a second competence as well, because if our whole business is built on subscriptions, then we have to have the tech stack to fit that business goal. And there was nothing that we could actually just get, or there was something that we could get in terms of software, but we couldn't afford it. So we just decided, okay, we will actually focus on those 2 areas. And until now, it's still like the 2 biggest areas. This is how our results look like at the moment. So the left graph is interesting. So at the moment, about 2/3 of our revenue is subscriptions. And then about 15% is advertisement, 15% is books, and then our like sales of services and software. And you can see the tiny part, like 3-4% is print daily. So we still have a print daily newspaper. It's hard to believe it, but it's true. So even in 2024, it's very small, and it's the point of this is that we kind of call it. Some of my colleagues don't like it, but we kind of call it like an advertisement for the website. So at the beginning, the purpose of the print newspaper was that we wanted to be taken seriously, and it was advertisement for the website. And investors were a bit worried, to be honest, like we are crazy people who even like in 2014, it sounded crazy, not in 24, that we want to start like a new printed newspaper. The trick is that all the processes, all the editorial processes are actually built around online, and the print is kind of just the afterthought. You know, like all the articles are published online first, and then in the afternoon, you know, like very small group of editors who are doing, of course, online all day will just take the best articles that were published that day or the previous day and put it in the paper. You know, and that's the model. So we could shut down the print paper tomorrow. We would not have to fire any person because there's no one in the newspaper who would be only doing print, and our like profit, or not revenue, but profit, would actually remain exactly the same if we shut down the print newspaper. So we kind of build the company around the idea of online is the business, and we are completely agnostic whether we are actually publishing print or not. We will stop publishing it when, you know, it will start losing money, but it's still not, it has that point still hasn't arrived, you know, so it's still kind of on the zero. And we had about 7 million euros revenue last year on and 1.2 million euros profit or EBITDA. So almost the same in our case. This is our numbers look like. That might be interesting for you. So we have anywhere between 1 and 1.5 million unique visitors per month on the site. The key number there is we have around 70,000 active subscribers at the moment, which is something around 1.6% of Slovak adult population. Now, I will come back to this graph a bit later. After the launch in Slovakia in 2014, we have launched the Czech Dennik N, which is different in one letter in the name, like it's Dennik in Slovak and Dennik in Czech, so that's how we recognize it. No one else can. In 2018, we are a minority shareholder there. We run the IT and we run the editorial, the same principle with the quite famous Czech magazine Respect, which we like again acquired like a minority share last year. And for that, we are running all the technology and for the company. And we also launched Hungarian service, which is at the moment focused on Hungarian minority in Slovakia. So basically, it's just 3 sites in 3 different languages at the moment. Now, what are the 2 key components of how we got to where we are? So I divided them into 2 parts. One is the content strategy and newsroom culture, and the second one is technology. So let's start with the strategy. The content strategy is like it's very simple to read. Like even if you go to our website, you will see the strategy on the website. Like it looks very simple. There is just 1 very long or 2 very long columns. On the left side, all those articles are paid, and those are the very long articles that there is a strict paywall and you have to pay to read it. And on the right side, there is a short news service, which is like very heavily edited. It's not just like copy pasted info from news agencies, but you know it's a breaking news service. And also the breaking news feed a lot of traffic to the paid articles. So basically, we have the short news to attract a lot of traffic, and then feed that traffic to the long news, which are paid, and get the subscribers. You know, it sounds very easy, right? You can see the same strategy on all the products. You know, so even our apps, we have 2 different apps. We actually had 4, which was too many. Now we have 2. One is for breaking news, which is they are very fast. It's the most popular Slovak news app, I think. And it feeds people to the other app, which is kind of exclusive, luxurious, and only for paying subscribers. This is so one of the key things when we started, again, as I said, like we started with 40 people who were already working in the newspaper before. And the key thing that we had to change was what we actually had to stop doing. You know, and what we had to stop doing is something in the middle. You know, so as I said, that we are doing a lot of short news, which are very like short and fast because they bring traffic. Then we are doing long news, long articles that actually convert people to subscribers. And we really try to avoid as hard as possible to do anything in the middle, which is like the normal 400 words article that before we would be doing. You know, something happened, but we were not the first one to break it. So we will just call someone and get some quote and have our own article. No, like this is, we try to not do this at all. Like even like the technology, even the CMS is built in a way that it kind of forces people to choose like between very short news, or if you want to write something longer, then you have to really be sure that you are actually writing something that people want to pay for. You know, that actually has such a value, not just one edit quote, but has a value that people actually want to pay for. So the key thing for the newsroom culture is that there is very little barrier between the editorial and any other part of the company, for the simple reason, like at the beginning, there was no other part of the company. Like there was there were only journalists, and also almost all our journalists are shareholders. So this is like company of the journalists. And how we try to make it work is that we are feeding a lot of the information about the journalist, and it's all focused on subscriptions, you know. So you can see this is the daily dashboard that you can see in our newsroom. If you can visit us in Bratislava, you can see every single person can see this on his computer. And the key things there, like this looks kind of like all the other newsroom analytics tools, but the key thing here is that you can see the number of readers, and the second number from the right is number of conversions. So number of people who actually this article triggered them to read to pay for the subscription, and the one number on the left is the conversion rate. You know, like how successful is this article in attracting subscribers? You know, so then editors can work with this in very different ways. You know, so if we think we have something exclusive, but the numbers are not good, then they can try to change the headline and so on. If something is surprisingly working well, they can keep it on top of the web page for longer and so on. There are many different ways how we like feed the data to the journalists. So, for example, this is a daily email that every single morning all the journalists get actually email, which is what are the best-selling articles yesterday. You know, everyone can see all the other articles and how many actually new subscribers this article brought. And then this is another email, weekly email that every reporter gets, and it's already like personalized. So these are your own articles. You know, what did you write in the last 7 days? How much did each article sell? And actually, the most like brutal thing at the end, what kind of articles you wrote, but it didn't convert, like it had 0 conversions, you know. Now, of course, like I always saying, like once I was doing this presentation in Germany, and they told me like this would be illegal in Germany, you know, like it's completely crazy. Like you cannot say to people that, you know, journalists are responsible for the business results of the company. The thing is that interesting thing happens. Like these are the 5 most selling articles in the history of Dennik N. And you can see that there is no clickbait here. Like it's actually, I think like 3 of those actually got like the biggest Slovak journalism award, you know. So what we found, to our happiness, let's say, that there is a very high correlation between what people want to pay for and what we actually want to write. Because every journalist, if he can choose or she can choose, would rather spend 2 weeks on one 2 weeks on one article and write something substantial, you know, or spend a couple of months on the investigation, and not to make, you know, five articles every week. And we are actually finding that the focus on the subscription data are actually pushing us towards higher quality of journalism. And I think this is a big difference compared to the previous business model of advertisement that we had, you know, 10 years ago, or everyone had 20 years ago, when the advertisement business model was actually pushing us to do, basically generate a lot of page views, right? And there are different ways how you can generate a lot of page views, but not many of those are actually good for journalism, right? Here on this model, actually it pushes us to write something that is so different than everyone else that actually people would say, okay, not only I will click on it because it's very, very cheap, but actually I will buy a subscription. This is an interesting graph it's still, I don't have the last year's data, but I think it will look the same. So you can, the one funny thing here is that in 2015, we had 40 journalists. Now we have 100 journalists, but those 100 journalists are producing less articles than they were 10 years ago. But each year, our articles are actually getting longer and longer. And this is not on purpose. Like, we were quite surprised when we saw this. This is just because journalists are actually learning from the data that we are feeding to them. And the data is telling them, like, spend more time on each article. You don't have to write every day, and you don't have to produce really a lot of articles. But really, once you write something, do something that people will remember. So we are in completely opposite situation compared to what we thought 10, 15 years ago, when we thought, oh, people want to have like a short news, and no one has time anymore. No one reads anymore online. For us, it's really like people are pushing us to write more in depth, to write more high quality things, and then they are willing to actually pay for it. This is one of the analyses. We didn't invent this one. I think we got the idea from some Finnish newspaper, but it's one of the things how we are like strategically guiding our decisions. So you can see, I will explain the chart. So on the x-axis, you have conversions, and on the y, you have number of articles written, right? So in the top right, you have articles, you have topics that we are writing a lot about. We would have like COVID here 2 years ago on the top right, now war against Ukraine and so on. So we write a lot about it, and we sell a lot of subscriptions. On the bottom left, you would have things like we write only very little about this topic, and it doesn't convert a lot. So this is like the normal distribution would be axis from the bottom left to the top right. The interesting parts are the green and red one, because in the green there are things like we only write about this topic occasionally, but people seem to be very interested in this, and this is actually very hard to notice if you actually don't do analysis like this. But a couple of years ago, for example, we noticed that by this analysis that like we have a topic like when we write about relations, like how to keep your wife or how to educate your children. We didn't have a department for it, just randomly some articles appeared, and it was immediately here on the bottom right. So we said, okay, there is something there, so we should like increase our production here. It says like increase all. So we actually started translating some articles. It still worked. So we hired first person to actually focus only on this topic. It was still working. It was kind of moving up a little bit. And we basically kept hiring people until the topic moves to the top right. And the same was with the sport, the same was with a couple of other topics. So we kind of let readers tell us by data what they actually value and what we undervalue and what they should actually write about. And you can put, and of course on the other hand, on the red one, so there you will have things like something like I don't know, South America politics, right? And you can make a decision then, like, do we, if we still think South America politics is important, then of course we keep covering it. But we can also make a decision, like maybe we should try to cover it in a different way if we actually want it to perform better. Like, it's not that people are telling us this is not interesting, but they are telling us the way how you are doing this topic is actually not so interesting. Maybe try to do something else. The cool thing is that you can put like different things into the x-axis. So you can have, now I have conversion, but you can have page views there. It's slightly different pictures, like what kind of topics bring page views. You can have also authors there, so you can even say to authors, like, you are really great because your average article is like selling, is like so, is attracting readers in much higher rate. But it seems like if you just spent 10% less time on one article and wrote more of the articles, you would be more successful. And sometimes, of course, then they are quite free people and they are shareholders, so they can say no. Like, it's not like we will fire them, but and some of them will say, oh no, but some of them will actually want to be more successful and will actually try to change how they are doing. Now the second part, the technology and market. So I arranged this in a way that I will try to tell you how the typical campaign looks like if I want to attract the new subscriber, basically how I would do this in 20 minutes. So first, of course, it start with analytics. So I will not go into detail, but I will just show you a couple of things. Our experience with analytics is that 99% of the data you will, or even the analysis of what you will get is actually useless. And the job is actually to find that 1% that you suddenly see, oh, this is interesting, and let's try to look at this like every week, every month, every year. You have to do a lot of analysis, but most of them actually bring you the things you already knew. But once you find the gem that actually is when you are interested, and I will try to show you the interesting examples. So first, of course, we are looking at the data of each article. So this is the software that we have where a reader can say, this is especially useful, for example, because you can see where the traffic is coming from, but also where the conversions are actually coming from. This is like a static view of the same thing. And this is a very simple graph, like you have to read it from the right. So on the right, there are all the conversions, so people who bought subscriptions. In the middle, you have where are those people coming from. So you can see in our case, half of them are coming from articles on the bottom. And second half is coming from actually front page or some other landing pages. And then where are those people coming from, right? And so, for example, one thing that you can see very, very clearly is that social for us is actually very high driver of conversions as well. People go from social, not the advertisement like buy our subscription, because it would go from blue to the top. It doesn't work for us, but people go from blue, from social to actually articles and then convert, So this way you can see, okay, not only where the traffic is coming from, but where the actually conversions are coming from. And this is very easy to understand, even for, I almost say, even for journalists, for everyone, it's easy to understand. This is another simple thing, which is known in many industries, we are finding quite useful. The classical retention chart, I picked the old data where you can see it quite clearly. So this is the months where the COVID started, right? So you can see suddenly the number of new sales in this one window actually jumped like to twice. But then you want to watch, okay, whether those people are actually staying with you or not, And you can see in the second month, it's like 8% higher, 8% points higher churn than previous month, but it's of course still very nice because you can try twice more. And you can of course, this analysis for everyone doesn't make so much sense, but once you break this into the segments, like, okay, if I have students, what is the retention table for the students? Or if I have people coming from Google, or if I have people coming from this special promotion who are in this segment, what is their intention? Then of course that's where it starts to be interesting. This is another interesting view that we have. Basically, every day, people who are responsible for all two people who are responsible for subscriptions are waking up with this chart, which shows what is going to happen in the future. So on the left, the bar on the left is actually today, and I'm watching what's going to happen with my subscription next week, in 2 weeks, in month, in 2 months, right? Because usually there are promotions, so I have to know already now if in 2 months I will have like 1 year anniversary of some promotion, and actually have to think 1 month before that what kind of things I will offer to them before the subscription actually ends. There is also like one interesting piece of information, like we are also calculating the churn risk for each customer and the customer lifetime value for each customer. This is often used by the help desk, even like this is the view from the help desk people, like someone calls or someone tries to cancel, and they can actually check, okay, what does the machine tell me about whether this customer actually whether it's probable or not that they will actually stay as a customer. This is our newest thing that we added to our software. Like we are now trying even like to calculate the gender balance in articles. So what we are actually doing is like in the analytics, we take the first image in the article, we send it to Google Azure to actually recognize the faces. It gives us back how many people, how many men, how many women. And then it is actually shown to the editors, what is the gender balance now. And we are only starting with these because, as you see, these are our like starting numbers, so they are really horrible. Like we only have three sections when the balance is somewhere between 40 and 60%. And business is below 20% women representation and so on. So I'm kind of showing this to shame myself how horrible those numbers are. But we build the software with the same idea of we will never say to people, you have to interview women or you have to do this or that. We are always approaching the problem of how to be more inclusive and how to get more women readers, for example, in a way that the same way we approach the conversions. Like, let's find the right metrics and let's just show it to the journalists, and then they will make their own decisions. Because in this case, it's also like they understand, the people from business or sport understand what is the problem here when they look at this chart, but they just have to see it every day to kind of so we can actually influence their decisions. This is interesting thing, like one of the surprising things I wanted to show you. So we have 3 basic tiers of subscriptions, and we were kind of thinking, okay, the people who are paying the most expensive package are actually probably using it more because they are getting more value. It turned out that it's almost the reverse, so like the people who are paying the lowest price, €5, are actually consuming more content than the others, So when you think about it, okay, you can say, okay, it's logical because people who are rich are paying a lot of money and they don't have time and so on, But this is one of the things that changed our thinking about pricing, for example. So we know that now if we want to convert people to paying more, if we want to convert them to paying €10, we will not base the marketing on the rational value that you can read more or you can have more services. We have to base it on actually something else because that's how people behave. Now the second, so I have done, let's say I have done some analysis. I now know what I want to do. I want to do some promotion for students, or I want to do some special promotion for some churn users and so on. So now I will go through the software part that allows me to create the offer. First, the first base of the software is the creation of segments. And this is like a very easy tool that actually allows me to check create any segment I want and check how many people are in the segment. So here I'm creating very simple segment of people who paid more than 5 times. You can see on the right side, I can see how many people are in that one condition, and on the bottom I can see how many people are in the all segment. So this is like extremely easy to use interface that actually allows me to kind of experiment just with the ideas at the beginning. Like, look, how many people we have who left more than a year ago and didn't subscribe to this newsletter, or any kind of combination of ideas that I can have, and then I can check what are those people actually, and if it makes sense to actually make a promotion. So I start with segments. Then I move to creating the subscription types. I will just click back just to see how many there are. Yeah, so it's like 300 different subscriptions. So we are a bit obsessed with like creating different landing pages and different offers for different people. And of course, most of them, it turns out like those they are not the best ideas. But the key is that we build the software in a way that allows us to do a lot of experimentation. So there are all kind of ideas, like special discount for students who are only 18 and are working for the first time, or people who came from Google and so on. So all of this, basically you create the product, and then you combine the product, the special subscription, to different landing pages. So again, we have like hundreds of landing pages that actually are offers for different kind of people. Now, about the funny part. So now the on-site marketing and automation. So now I have already created the product, I have created the landing page, and I'm going to kind of try to promote it to people and hopefully to the right people. So where I start is in this software that we have I'm creating the banner, and it's extremely easy to use. It's like 1 minute per banner. So I will choose some template. I will choose some colors if I want. I can choose some text. I can put my JavaScripts or anything I want there, but probably usually I don't do it. I will just use the simple text. Then I have the banner. Then I go to campaigns and I will define, okay, who I want to promote that banner to. So I will say, here is the name of the banner. I will choose the banner that I already created. Here I can do some A/B tests. So I will show 2 different versions of the banner. I will also have a control group to see how many people would pay anyway. I can have only signed-in users, people with ad block, and so on. Now I'm choosing the segments that I've already created, like two steps back. And the segments can be from CRM, so they can be from registered users, but it can be also based on behavior. So it can also be like people who, you can see here, people who visited our landing page, or people who read more than 5 articles, or people who read more than 5 articles in sports section, you know. So that's all the segment, and I can target that segment with special offer. So here I am saying, okay, people who are coming on our page, but not from Facebook or Google, I'm showing it every 2 page views, 10 times to each user, once per session. I can do some geo-targeting, and that's basically it, right? Now I have a campaign running. In the next step, I have a campaign running, and now I can see how much that campaign is actually earning, you know. So I can see these are the A version, B version, what is the conversion rate, and which one is actually better at better click-throughs, and which are actually better at selling in revenue. Yeah. The cool thing is that on-site banners, like I showed you one banner like this blue box, but it can look it can have very different looks. So here is an A/B test of the paywall stop actually. So you can see this is an article, and now on the left there is a paywall stop. It says this is only for paying subscribers and you have to pay, right? So this is our standard one. On the right you already have, you know, this is actually text that is customized to the article, you know, so it knows that this article is about, it's actually psychological help kind of rubric. So it tells, you know, we don't write about politics, we write about these kind of issues that you care about, and there is a special offer, you know. And at each point we have dozens of different these paywall stops, which are kind of always competing with each other. Like which one is, sometimes they are customized based on the user that is using it, that is reading it, sometimes based on where it's coming from. You know, if you are coming from Facebook, you will get message, special message for Facebook users. Sometimes it's customized based on what you are reading. You know, like if you are reading sports section, you will get very special message about what we are all doing in sports and why you should subscribe if you are a sports fan. And one more thing, how the on-site marketing actually looks. There is a bar at the bottom, you know, so we are even using it for content recommendation. So for example, this bar is triggered when we see a new reader, you know, there is no reader with no cookies. So we see, okay, this is probably a guy who didn't visit in the last 30 days. So we say, okay, now we show you our best articles for the last month because, you know, you probably didn't see it because we don't recognize you, you know. So all these things are actually done through the same software that what we call like on-site marketing automation. And you can actually see all the results in the same format in the software. Now, the third thing about the email marketing. So basically, you have already did the online banners that you are trying to attract people to the offer. So now you want to send some emails. The first tool we are using is this tool for like WYSIWYG editor for online automation. So basically, this is so easy that even I can do it, right? So here I'm choosing the path. So I'm saying, okay, if the payment status is fail, what will happen, right? So I'm saying, okay, if someone tries to pay and it doesn't go through, then I will show him this banner. And if it actually goes through, then I will just drag and drop from the left. I will say, okay, actually send this email, you know? So this is extremely easy to use. And our focus from the beginning, and it comes back to the culture, like we don't until now, we don't have anyone in the marketing department. We don't have a marketing department, like we don't have HR, we don't have many other things. But we really focused on creating the software in a way that is actually extremely easy to use. And I would actually even say now that recommendation that if you are building the subscription department, it's more useful. In most of the cases I have seen, it's more useful to get a journalist and teach him how to do marketing, but then to get the marketing guy and kind of try to get the newsroom to accept him, because newsrooms are typically not very accepting of people other than journalists, So that's behind it. We try to make it. We were using much more complex software before this, and we kind of threw it out, and we said, okay, we need to have something very much more simple. Now, this was a simplified example, and this is actual example. So this is how our onboarding looks like. It's a bit scary, but you can see people are just, it starts small, and then many people have many different ideas, and they are adding different functions here. But in the end, it's quite simple. Like you become a subscriber. After 4 days, you get the first email. After 8 days, we again check, what have you been doing in those 4 days? Have you subscribed to this newsletter? Have you downloaded our app? If not, we try to kind of sell you the app. Then we wait another 4 days. Then we go through the like whole web again. And again, based on the behavior, we try to kind of onboard you to actually improve the chance that you will stay as a subscriber. These are an example, like what happens after the subscription ends, and it's extensive because it really depends on many things. Like it depends on what kind of subscription you had before, who are you, how much we know about you, did you download the app, and so on. And based on that, there are some rules about what kind of offer we should give you, or maybe we should wait because you will probably buy for the full price and so on. Now, so that was the like pure marketing emails. Now we also have, we kind of went crazy with the newsletters a bit during one time. So we have now, with these 100 journalists, we have 41 newsletters. I will show you why. So we actually, again, try to make it very easy for journalists to manage the newsletter. So again, we don't have any single person in the newsroom that would be taking care of the newsletters. We just kind of, the product department, which is one person, creates the new newsletter, but then the journalists are managing. And this is how it looks. So this is our WordPress. We are using WordPress as CMS. And from the point of view of a journalist, this is how it looks when I finish my article and I want to send a newsletter. So I will just, there is a button on top right which says create an email. It will take me to the software. It will create two versions of the email. One is the full text for subscribers on the left. Second one is like kind of cut in the middle because it's for non-subscribers. And I just check it and I just send the newsletter, and that's all. So that's all we want. That's all we ask. And then people are happy. Oh, I have my own newsletter. Then there are like 3 different types of newsletter we are using. One is the standard one. You can see, okay, basically like content recommendation. So editor-in-chief says, here are the 5 articles that I recommend you to read this week. The second kind, which is much more powerful, is actually like full text emails, and the purpose of this is basically subscriber retention. And we are in a very strange situation when some formats of the article, they started as article on the website, but they became so popular as newsletters that now the website is almost like the least favorite medium. We have some formats like morning business newsletter, which a lot of the people are reading. Most of the people are reading in email. They never click. Really, a lot of people are listening to a podcast, which is paid, and some people are also looking at the website. And this was actually quite a big transformation, and we are still kind of in the middle of the transformation to teach journalists that they should not only be interested in how many people read it on the website, but there are other platforms, and sometimes those platforms are actually already stronger than the website. These are what I call like, we don't need anything from your emails, but they are very important. They are actually very popular. So the one, how we spend your money, we just sent one today. We are sending it this every quarter. And it's very good for, improving the numbers in terms of open rate and mostly open rate, because it's good to send from time to time email where you are not asking people to do anything. When you are not asking them to click on email, not asking them to buy something, just saying, thank you, this is what we have done thanks to you, and it's actually these are our results and so on. Then there is a really like a long tail of follow newsletter. I call them follow. Like, so all these yellow ones, they are actually like separate newsletters. So every tag, of course, you can follow author, but also every tag you create, there is an automatic newsletter tag. And most of those have 100, 200 subscribers. But because we have hundreds of topics, then it actually adds up to quite a big number of like very micro newsletters. So we have a big ones, and we spend some time on creating each one, and then as the newsletters are getting smaller and smaller, there is more and more automation, and at the end there is a huge long tail of completely automated things. There are thousands of those newsletters actually sent to only a couple of people, and that's, I think, is quite a good model. It's the same just in the app. Now we spend quite a lot of time thinking about how do you get people to subscribe to a newsletter? And there are different ways, so I listed them here. So a lot of people do it in payment window. After the payment, we tried. Onboarding is quite successful in many cases. Like the ultimate emails, the first 30 days. The one that works for us, which not surprisingly is probably inspired from the New York Times, is this one. Just inline text. Really, like, we tried many different things, and this is the one that works best. It works best because it's very simple. Like, you just go through it and you just click once and you are subscribed, right? If you are logged in. So this has won all our tests, and this is what we are actually using now, and which is most effective in getting subscribers. We had all kind of widgets, and we tried all kind of things on the website, like put your email here and we will subscribe. And I know it worked, so we actually threw it out. Like, we are quite brutal in kicking everything out of the website, which doesn't have a good performance, but this is the one thing that is actually working. Now, this is an interesting experiment. I haven't heard anyone doing this. So we encountered the problem, like our sport department wanted to have a special newsletter for the ice hockey championship, but the problem is that ice hockey championship is like 2 or 3 weeks, and it's once a year. So if you launch it on the first day, and then you only start collecting subscribers, by the time you have enough subscribers, it's over, and you have to wait a year. So what we did is actually, for those people who we had quite a strict criteria. So we said, okay, we will take people who, based on their behavior on the website, are among the top 5% biggest fans of ice hockey based on what they are reading. And they also have to be subscribed to some other newsletter, and they also have to be opening newsletters, and they also had to give us like consent to send them under newsletter. So we selected like group of like first couple of thousand people, and we said, we are almost sure that these guys would like to have this newsletter, only they don't know about it because we haven't launched. And we just turned it on for them. And also the championship started, and the first day, that selected group of people got the newsletter. They never kind of subscribed to it, but they just got it first day saying, we think you would be interested, we are saying this. The result of this was extremely positive. We had no complaints about it because we really like found the right group of people. And even like unsubscribes were not higher than normal newsletter, which is kind of strange, So it's proven to us, and we are now like, with every newsletter we are launching, we are first thinking, okay, can we, with a high probability, find the people who we are almost sure that they actually want to read this, and let's just turn it on for them, and it will work, and it works most of the time for us. Now, the two marketing concepts, one slide each. So first, it really helps us when we are launching any campaign to think like, we simplify everything to this simple concept of, there are 2 groups of people. One, they just want to read the article. Second, they actually want to support us and or independent journalism, right? So those who want to read the article, those groups are behaving very different way, and it's important to recognize between them because of the pricing, right? If they just want to read the article, they want discounts, ideally. If they want to support you, you have to be very, very, very careful not to actually show them discounts. Like this is where really a lot of money is, just to recognize which people don't want discounts from you, right? The second concept already shown. So we kind of try to break down the problem, and we even did like a strange thing, like, okay, so first we attract readers, then we ask them for email, then we ask them for small payment, then for subscription. We spent 1 year only thinking about email, for example, because we said, now we think like, here is our problem. Like, we don't have enough people registered, so we can't sell to them directly. So we spent like a year just thinking about this one problem, because the whole department, meaning 2 people, didn't just have time to do a lot of other stuff, So I will just show you the example, like what we did. So we started with all this kind of how we solve the problem of getting the new emails, right? So we started all kind of, this blue one was trying to attract people to say, you will get exclusive newsletters from the editor-in-chief. The yellow one, you will get premium free article every day, and so on. And we built like 10 different services, all kind of ideas we had to collect emails. All of them, apart from one, were kind of like failures. The one that worked is this one, So it's basically unlocking articles for the friends. So you click on the link, you are a subscriber, you click on the link saying, I want to send this to my friends. You get the link, which is unlocking the article, you send it to your friend, and your friend gets a message like this, congratulations, you have a good friend which is sending you a article, but you have to give us your email, and then you will get the article. This is how, then of course you get a special offer on the next day because your friend is a subscriber, and so on. This is how the share of the different, basically this is how our lead generation works. This is almost like a graph, which I try to be creative with, but it's like, it means 80% of the new emails are coming from articles unlocked by friends, about 5-10% come when people actually buy the subscription. And then there are a lot of these small lines at the bottom, which are all kind of those unsuccessful services we tried, but we have to try really like a lot of them to actually find someone that actually works. Now, a couple of things about pricing which are connected to marketing and so first, one thing I see with almost all the publishers that like everyone knows that your revenue is number of subscribers multiplied by your price, but everyone is thinking every day about number of subscribers. Not everyone is thinking about the price, and because it's kind of, everyone is looking at, it's easier to measure, so all the newsrooms, everyone is looking at how many subscribers we have today and how many we gained compared to yesterday, but not so many people are actually looking at average price per customer. So almost all the publishers that I have ever seen in all kind of different countries, the easiest way how to raise the revenue is not to raise the number of subscribers, because they are working on that, like everyone is working on that, but actually raise the average price that people are paying. Second, you probably need like 2 or 3 prices, like never, ever have just one price. That's because some people want to pay more. I will show you in the next slide. They just need to be asked. And for no micropayments, I just like, until end of my life, I will always say, please don't do micropayments. It kind of works because people buy it, but you will lose a lot of money by doing micropayments. If someone wants like a longer explanation, I can do it. So this is the pricing structure we have, like free basic, like a structure of free basic packages. The interesting thing becomes like when we ask, I have stolen the chart from our friend Greg here on the call, is okay, when we actually ask why you are paying for this higher price, and we kind of try to put all kind of things there, unlocking for friends, a print magazine, like there are like 5 different services, but still people say, I just paying because I just like you. That's all there is. So you should never underestimate the amount of people who just like you and want to give you more money, but you just have to ask for it. Now, another interesting, like big idea we had is that very often people who are paying for the product are not the same people who are consuming the product, And once you realize this, it opens you like all kind of new field of thinking, you know. So this is our biggest, for example, we still do a lot of crowdfundings. Even when people are buying our subscription, we still ask them at least once every 2 months, you know, there is a special project that maybe you would like to contribute more. And this is by far the most successful one I'm showing you. And it's people are buying print magazines for students, you know, so they are contributing, they are buying a print magazine about about various topics like how to protect yourself against Russian propaganda or history of Slovak Nazi state and so on. And they are not buying it for themselves because they don't want to read the kind of thing that they know how to protect themselves about propaganda, but they are buying it for the students in schools because they think, yes, our students should learn about this, you know. And this is extremely successful project, and we have like 500 schools in Slovakia who are actually getting these magazines every 2 months, and it's all paid for by our actually subscribers through the crowdfunding. Then, like a lot of the publishers are thinking, should we do subscriptions or should we do donations? I think the right answer in 2014 or 2024, forgot which year it is actually like there is no reason why you shouldn't combine it. Right? Even like our business is in subscriptions. We just ask very regularly, not just in crowdfundings, but actually after the payment, we ask you, maybe you would like to contribute a bit more. And this is, it's not like a huge part of the revenue, but it's thousands of euros every month, which is like free money, basically, for just putting one sentence there saying, oh, maybe you would like to contribute more. You know, some people just contribute more. It's like very, very easy to do. This is the most surprising thing about the pricing we actually we ever tested. If it was, I think, at the beginning of COVID, when we said, would you like to pay the full price or would like to have a discount, you know? And this doesn't really make sense, like, because who would want to pay higher price if it's right in the same window, you have the discount. But still, when you try to explain, you know, what you will do if you get more money, still, like, depending on the segment, let's say between 10 to 20% of people actually choose the higher price just because you kind of ask nicely. Now, I put the slide about the technology here because a lot of the publishers, usually when they want to start with subscriptions, they are asking about the paywall, you know, and this is not, and really like almost everyone who doesn't have reader revenue asks about the paywall. And paywall is actually I have the next slide. So paywall is actually the easy part here. So you should not be asking your RT department about paywall. That's like 1 week of work or 2 weeks of work. There are many different ways how to do that and so on. What people don't realize, and quite often they launch something and then only they realize what they are missing, is that the hard part is the CRM, because where you store the customers, because you will store the customers in any CRM, but then you will have really like hundreds of ideas every year about what you want to do with the customers, and that's not so easy anymore. You know, so you want to do different landing pages, and it really makes a huge difference if creating a new offer is 10 minutes or 10 days. And I have seen publishers for whom it is 10 days. And it's a really big difference if you want to do 1+1 promotion, if it's again like 20 minutes, or if it's 1 day, or if it's 1 month. And then you will come to the point when you say, okay, I want to have a family subscriptions and I want to have upgrades. You know, is it possible with just 1 click to actually go from cheaper subscription to the higher subscription? And that's already very hard to do. It's already very, very complex. You know, this is what you should be thinking about before actually choosing the solution. And then newsroom analytics is actually hard, which is kind of strange because there are so many companies doing newsroom analytics. The problem is that most of them are showing you, like 90% of what they are showing you is actually like useless things. You know, like you can show a lot of data to newsroom, but they will not know what to do with that. You know, so the hard part there is actually finding the couple of information that newsroom will know what to do with and showing them that. You know, and that requires really like a lot of strategic thinking and really a lot of like thought about how not to just show it because it's nice and colorful and it's moving and it's kind of sexy. You know, I can see the data, I can see how many people are there. but they actually have actionable information what to do with them. So I'm almost finished now. So what all the examples that we have seen, and now is a good time, I should probably explain our technology behind it. So we have started 10 years ago, we have started building the software for ourselves because there was nothing on the market that we could either afford or we liked. After a couple of years, we actually outsource everything that we are using, so we are running now 99% of open source. So you can go to the website, there is the link next, and anyone can actually use the same software as we are using. And every month there will be a new version and all the ideas. This is a bit funny because everyone in Slovakia is using our software. So when we have a new version, when we have a new idea, next month our competition will have the same. But it will work quite well. So we also, with some Google ground, we actually basically open source everything. So it's available to all the publishers, and dozens of publishers around the world are actually using it. This is how the ecosystem looks like. So we are a publisher here. We are creating the core of the software. Then there are system integrators like companies who are helping publishers actually implement the software. Actually, I think some guys are even here on the call. Then there are publishers who are using the software and they are feeding us back the information about what kind of improvements they would like to have. Sometimes they do the improvements, contribute to everyone. Sometimes they just keep it to themselves and so on. So we are kind of trying to, like, none of us will have thousands of software developers like New York Times, but we are kind of trying to go around the disadvantage by creating an ecosystem around the free software that we are developing for ourselves, but anyone else can use it as well. Now, and because this is my last two slides, but I heard that it's not allowed to do the tech presentation without the AI slide in 2024. So just to give you a look in two technologies that I think are quite cool that we are using. So this is where we are using AI, but we have I think there was a question, we will get to that. We are using text to voice by Microsoft Azure. So like our articles are automated. We send the text and they send us back the voiceover, and it's quite popular service with the readers. We actually, like, on the day that we launched the service, we about doubled the number of audio views. So basically, we see the audio as kind of pyramid. Like on top of it are like our own formats that are exclusive, and we have like famous voice doing it and everyone recognizes it. And then you go down in kind of quality because we cannot afford to do the high quality voice for everyone. But if you want to read any article, even the one that is not much read, then you can use the automated voice. And second thing, we are quite successful in actually using text to image. The aim was here's just a screenshot of couple of images for one rubric. So the aim was to kind of replace the horrible stock images that we really had a lot of horrible stock images, which sometimes a lot of them were like business, like two people talking, or you have a photo of the ministry of something and so on, And we started experimenting with Midjourney, and it's actually works very well. Not all our images are red. These are red just because, for example, we were launching a new section of psychological help, and we kind of wanted to have one common theme, so that people recognize it's the same kind of rubric, but each picture different. And this is published a couple of times per week, so it's not really realistic to ask like a human illustrator to do this. Like, first we couldn't afford it. Second, it would be a lot of images. So we just had people experiment with, okay, how we could create like one style by AI to actually reuse for different images and different topics and so on. And this was quite successful. I will not go into detail, but I have a lot of there are some other examples on this URL if you want about our use of AI. So that we have a lot of time for questions. So first, like, the software is free. I don't recommend to anyone to like try to install it himself. Like, it's better to get the help from the integrator. But we are very open to discussing with any publishers about like what kind of ideas they could steal from us, because we have stolen a lot of ideas from others. and what kind of ideas they can steal from the software. And if the software is useful, then it's anyone can use it. And also we are basically in the strange environment where we kind of see even our competitors here in the country as like collaborators because we are working on the same software. And I think the more publishers from any other country join us in actually, using it or developing it, the better would it be. Now I think I'm losing my voice a little bit, so I think we should go for questions.
Thank you very much, Tomasz. That was brilliant, fascinating. So I'll just start with, if any one of you have more questions, please raise your hands or start speaking and I will stop then. I'll just read out loud the one that Tatiana asked about your audio audience. So do you know that any of your readers prefer listening to reader after you have introduced the audio version of the articles? Do you have any data on that?
The one number I have in my head is that we were building the audio for, it was not a priority, like priority number one, but we were building audio for a couple of years, like 5 years. And the number of listens to that like doubled just immediately after we introduced the neural voice and AI audio. And also it's easy way to, if you have a business model for audio, it's very easy way to significantly increase your production at the moment, And we did a really lot of experiments with the AI voice. Even like 15 years ago, we launched our first service in the previous paper and it always kind of sounds fine when you listen for a minute, but then when you ask people to listen for 20 minutes, then no one wants to do that, right? And now I think this is for us last year was the first year where we said, okay, now we are doing it because now it's actually the quality of the voice is actually so that you can actually listen to it for 20 minutes, So it's kind of the breaking point. So if you want to, if you have a reason to, it's still like a lower quality voice, compared to human, of course. But if you have a reason why, this is the reason why you want to have like more audio views, then this is a great way, I think. And it's not like a hard project. Like there are services like Microsoft and the others, or 11 Labs, where it's even training your own voice is not so hard and not so expensive, and using default voice is actually very easy.
And can we kind of follow up on this one? Because you also, it's not just that you have a readout versions of your articles, but you also use podcasts as a different format. You have different podcast products. At then again, the Czech version is also used, many of them. So could you talk a little bit more about that? To what extent is that a new market? How does it work for you? Is that something that you plan on developing? How does it all come together?
Yeah, so I didn't spend a lot of time on audio because I'm not sure like we don't have any groundbreaking ideas there. So for a long time, our competitor here was doing in podcasts. So our strategy was let's do 50% of their reach by 10% of the spending 10% of the money, So we were very effective, and we had like 1% for podcasts, and maybe we will have 2 in half a year, but it's like very, very low cost operation. Because to be honest, we are not really sure, because we are so much focused on subscriptions. We even did like one very, very horrible experiment when we tried to move one podcast behind the paywall, because the logic was that, okay, these are people who are hooked on the same thing and they are listening to the same thing every day. So in theory, they should be paying. But in practice, the technology is just not there for them to pay like in a convenient way, So we did this, like we moved one podcast behind the paywall. We lost a lot of money in advertisement, and now we have to kind of quietly move it back because it was just a mistake. So I'm kind of waiting for, I still think the podcast is in principle should be paid when you have really like a loyal audience. And in a way, we are probably like repeating the same mistake as the publishers that we were doing 20 years ago, like putting out everything for free and then, waiting whether a miracle will happen and we will get some money. So we are a bit careful there because we don't see the business model, but we don't want to be too much behind when someone discovers the business model so that we are ready. So this is my strange answer.
Agnieszka asks, how many subscribers read Dennik N via DeepL? People who subscribe you but do not read in Slovak.
Oh, that's an interesting question. I never thought about this. I don't know if there is a way how we can find out, So I would say it's probably a very low number because there is like a hard paywall. So even if you ask DeepL DeepL doesn't have our subscription, right? So you would actually have to have a subscription, copy paste it into DeepL. It would not be like a very good experience. So it's probably very little. Like we have very little audience outside of countries that can actually speak our language.
Okay. Pavel asks, hi Tomasz, brilliant presentation and figures. It's great to hear again. Not so much of a problem with journalism, but developing a team that needs to evolve and focus more on analytical conclusions and strategic thinking. What value does the one who pay gets? And good to know Facili is a strong supporter of Dennik. By the way, with Facili, we know each other from the grants program. Okay, my question is about a plan for further development of RAMP 2030 platform. Could you tell us a little bit more about next steps for RAMP and the special features?
Yeah, so RAMP was first for us, then we kind of started developing for other publishers, but then we were quickly overwhelmed because there were too many and we don't have capacity to just support all the world. So we actually are investors in Facili, and that's why we kind of bought the company that actually can do the support. So our plan is we will keep developing this for ourselves and for like core of publishers who are working very closely with us, and there are different kind of publishers. Some of them we have a weekly calls and we kind of discuss what kind of features they would like to have and what kind of ideas they have and whether we develop it or they develop it. And this kind of cooperation for sure will continue. So we have, this will just continue as it is now. And there are a couple of other publishers who are kind of more remote from us, who just get the implementator to integrate it to actually implement the software, and then they are doing their own thing and we are doing our own thing. So we don't have, of course, there is some roadmap, so for people who talk to us, we kind of have an idea what we want to do in next half a year. Maybe 1 year is a stretch, and we have no idea what we'll do in 3 years. But so far we are going the same route of, we want to, ideally, a lot of the people in the, ideally more publishers in the Western Europe will be using, we have some in Austria, we have some in Germany, and those are pure commercial clients. And hopefully we will be able to support more and more publishers in other Europe. And then it's quite a lot of times it's done through grants, so a lot of the donors are actually giving grants for, IT, renovation of IT or in upgrading the IT and actually implementing the system to their clients so that they can actually collect subscriptions. And that's also what we are helping with and also what Facili is actually doing.
Okay, before we move on to Agnieszka's question about newsletters, I've seen our friends from Facili in the audience over here, Martina and Andre, I think. Sorry for the shout out, and I don't mean to make an ad out of this, but if you have a moment and if you are willing to, you might say a little bit more about also Pavel's questions, because you are the main agency now that is responsible for developing the product, as far as I understand. So it would be fantastic to hear a little bit more from you guys.
Hi, Slavik. Thank you. I believe we still have Andre here. He's leading our RAMP team, so I believe he will be more educated to respond to Pavel's question.
Yeah, sure. Let me just read it first, real quick. Okay. Forge developing a platform 2030. Okay, so one of the things that is for the future development of RAMP as itself is we are thinking about making it also a SaaS product to be much more attractable for small media. That is one way. For those that do not have any internet devs, basically. So it will be easier for them to work with the tool and do not always need to wait for anybody from the outside contractor to do something for them, especially for those cases that there needs to be like ad hoc, because RAMP at the moment has a lot of features that you can do yourself as an admin, and you don't need a dev for that, of course, but there are some things that are they're a little bit harder to do in the admin environment, and you need some input from a dev. So that's one way that RAMP is going for at the moment. Plus, we had a really strong push throughout the last year on the print side of the whole module, even though that this is the part of the market that is slowly dying. There are still several publishers then that want to shift to RAMP as a tool that they see that is fit for them. But as also Tomas mentioned, they have only small part of their revenue coming from print, so they didn't need to cover such a big ground on this area. But there are a lot of publishers that still 50 and even more % of their revenue is coming from print, so they needed to tackle a couple of specific use cases. So RAMP had really been developing also on this side. Of course, as Tomas mentioned, a couple of things on the AI side, plus a lot of automation being built into that. So you can have the same structure of your newsroom as Dennik N has, basically cutting out the marketing part so anybody can do it due to the automation.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks so much. If anyone is interested in developing RAMP, I think also Faceli is a good contact for all of you. Get in touch with them, and I'll move on to Agnieszka's question was first about how many newsletters your typical reader have from your receive every week in her or his mailbox. So the question, I guess, is also whether you are not overdoing it somehow, and how do you mitigate that?
Yeah, so it's hard to say average because there are extremes. So most of the people will get 1 or 2 for sure. There are some people who are getting like 20, and we even like realize that they maybe didn't want it, but they just keep subscribing to more. So what we are also doing, like from time to time, we also do like a big purge of the newsletter. So we actually unsubscribe people who don't read it. So like last year we had 300,000, or we have I think 200,000 subscribers on one big newsletter, and we just deleted half of those because we realized, okay, they are actually not opening it. And so, it's probably just going somewhere in their like third folder, So we try to keep the database healthy, but most of the people, I would say, are getting like Friday newsletter by editor-in-chief, because that's the one that is like by default on. And then probably like one that is like in their like specific interest. I think there is one older question, if I may, that we missed. David Barak was asking, the newspapers competing with you are using your software. Do you know their data? So we don't know it by default, but so because it's installed on their own servers, so we don't have access. So it's not like they have to share it with us. But we also, like with our biggest competitor, we are actually exchanging the data very freely. So it has the advantage of we have the same metrics because the dashboard is the same for everyone, and kind of the way how we are calculating the subscribers is the same, which is not like a not common thing because everyone is calculating differently. So we are actually very often exchanging the screenshots with our competitors, like this is where we are now. And, if my subscribers are falling suddenly this week, I will send a message to a friend from other newspaper saying, what are your numbers doing? Like, is it only us or do we have a problem? So we kind of try to be very open, and we are publishing our numbers every quarter, even financial numbers. So that's it.
Yeah. I guess if you want to read your competitors' data, you would need a different kind of software, like Pegasus, for instance. And to get a subscription for this, you would need to contact the previous Polish government. But we don't, by default, you don't really get. I get your competitors' data. But thanks for addressing this one. Adriana asks, do you offer something to your subscribers other than just a simple access to articles? So in other words, in your value proposition, is there anything else that you say, here is the value, and this is also worth paying for?
Yeah, so you can see the basic things you can see the offer here. So the access is the first line. I'm sorry for the Slovak, but I will translate. Access to the business part is already in only those two packages. Then it's less ads. Then it's archive of the PDFs, basically. Then it's convenience. So it's like a mobile app, for example. You have to pay the middle package at least if you want to have a mobile app. So that's kind of convenience, not the content. Then in the highest package, you have this unlocking for the friends. And that's probably the most popular one. I think there is, yeah, it's here. So you can see the unlocking for the friends is the most popular one, apart from support. Ads, people are saying that, but I'm not sure if it's true, but they are saying it, that they are removing the ads. And then they get this printed magazine if they are paying the highest price, you know. And then we started doing a lot of events. For example, last year, we had a month where we had like 20 different events, which was crazy. And they get, again, those people, those paying higher price get like free access or get like a priority tickets for the events, you know. So for the basic like cheap subscription, for the cheap seats, it's only about access to articles. And the higher you go and the more expensive you go, the more we try to do all kind of different like services around it.
Let me ask one follow-up question to that. Do you happen to know whether you have a segment of your supporters / subscribers who are literally not interested in reading Dennik N, but they basically believe in an idea of powerful independent, pro-democratic news outlet in Slovakia, and they just want to send money to you? Do you know what kind of segment is that, and how do you kind of approach it?
We don't have a lot of people that would be subscribers and not reading at all. I know that this is a problem for some publishers. I have a friend in one country south from us, and they have like 80% of that souls, you know, like 80% of subscribers are not using the service, you know. So this is a problem. For us, it's not such a big problem, but at the beginning, like 10 years ago, 100% of our subscribers were just subscribing because of the emotion, because there was no newspaper. Like they send us money and they didn't even know if it's going to be daily or weekly or monthly or nothing at all, you know. So at the beginning it was like 100%. I just want to support democracy and independent media and you. And then that 100% that is like getting lower and lower, and we are getting more and more those people who actually want to access, you know. And I would hope that we are even getting people who kind of don't like us, but, you know, just some articles are so good that they will still subscribe even when they don't like us, you know. So but it's still like it's quite a big medium. So once you subscribe, you are probably already reading it because we are big and we have a lot of articles. So we have 40 new articles every day or 30. You will probably have one or two that you actually will read. But that's the advantage of, you know, that's why we even like the donors at the beginning, like some people just wanted to donate like 1,000 euros, 5,000 euros for us and just said like, keep the money. And even those donors, like we were very clear with them from the beginning that this is not a gift, that we are not accepting the big gift at the beginning, because and if you can pay us 5,000, but we will give you 20 years long subscription, you know. And this is for the psychological reasons. Like we always want to tell people, you are buying a subscription, you are buying a service, because we were very worried that the emotions are going up and down, and today they like us and tomorrow they will not like us, you know. So it's very tricky to depend on the emotions they have about us or the democracy or how they like us. But build this as this is a service you are paying for, is kind of more stable, you know. But of course, we are happy if they like us, and we will try to get more money from them. But like the basis is actually the subscriptions, and for that, people actually have to be reading it as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. And there is another question that is somehow connected to the Pegasus one. So it asks about whether RAMP is actually able to read sector-wide data. So I understand that this is a question similar to what Google Trends could do potentially. So to see what is converting on a given market and be able to get informed by this kind of information. So are you able to see something sector-wide?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. So we don't have that. And this is like, we are very open with sharing everything. This is the only thing we are kind of not sharing with everyone. I mean, I can share it with you, but not with all the competitors. That the small gems that we find, that we had one article and we thought it will not be successful, and suddenly it was successful. You know, so the only way, you are exactly right, that the problem of that kind of analysis that I was showing is that it will only show you how the things you are already writing are performing, and not the things that you never wrote about, you know? So you have to understand that that is the weakness of the system, and you have to kind of fight with it by systematically trying new things, you know? And we really do that. Like, it's, for example, getting the licenses for other content is a good, like, cheap way to do that. Like, we were using Washington Post for many years for this. Like, we said, okay, let's try to translate Washington Post articles about fitness, because we never wrote about fitness and we have no idea if it will work or not. So let's try 5 or 10 articles and let's see if it works or not. And if not, fine, we will move on. No one wants fitness from us, you know? So I'm afraid the only way how you can actually gain experience here is that systematically saying, oh, here is the new topic. So just by principle, we never wrote about it. So by principle, let's try to do it so that we collect data, whether it works or not. But unless you actually write it, you know, you have no way. RAMP will not miraculously tell you what you should write about, you know? But this is not like a real life problem, because usually, like, you have a lot of journalists have a lot of ideas, and they have a lot of new projects, and they have all kinds of kind of crazy ideas. So it's more like systematically learning that, you know, yes, I have to say yes to a lot of ideas, because I actually have to wait for the data, whether they will surprise me and it will be a good idea.
Okay, thank you so much. If any of you have more questions, this might be your last chance, because we are getting to an end of this webinar. I would like to ask you, in the meantime, Tomasz, one thing that came to my mind during your presentation and Greg's comments in the chat room, when he pointed out that the rate of the market penetration in Slovakia, in your case, is just amazing, and that you're basically breaking the law of physics here. And so it seems that now you have to kind of, and it was very visible in your presentation as well, that you're super focused on optimizing every little step of user's journey to really kind of squeeze out the markets that's still left for you guys. So one question is, how much market is there in Slovakia left for Dennik N to grow? And another part of this question is, what other business opportunity are there for you, you know, on the horizon, whether it's expansion to different markets? This is something you've already done in the Czech Republic and in Hungary to some extent, but also perhaps the technological endeavors that you see as a potential growth for the business of Dennik N. Tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Yeah, so I'm afraid I have no idea, like, where is the ceiling. So because when we were starting, our business plan was that if we ever get to 20,000, then we are fine. You know, like, then we have won the internet and we can survive. And then we go to 20,000. We thought, okay, 30,000 would be the ceiling, then 40,000. So we kind of stopped, like, thinking about what is the ceiling, because we really don't know. And there are some. There are, like, ups and downs. It's not like straight line going up. So we had, like, half a year or even like a year when we had the stagnation and it was not growing and so on. But it's usually like sometimes there is a stagnation, 1 year stagnation in a number of subscribers, but we are focusing on the value of subscriber on that time, you know? So actually we are getting people to pay a little bit more during the time, and we are cutting discounts. So the revenue is still going up. So I have no idea where is the ceiling in terms of subscriptions. I also have no better idea than, the New York Times have like these 1,600 people in subscription department. But like you need to add more services. So this is what we have been doing from the beginning. We started as like purely political newspaper, basically mostly only about politics, right? Then we launched the business section a couple of years later. Then we had zero sport coverage for first 4 years. Then we hired one sports guy, and now we have like 8 people writing about sports. So we are testing new areas, and we are still, for example, we don't write about cars, and we write very little about technology. It's changing now a little bit. So there are still new areas that we think that if we can cover, we can get like a new readers who are actually reading that. And second, there are a lot of like the big, like the shockingly for us, the shockingly big profit means that we can like try whatever we want, right? So for example, we have now like 15% of the revenue is book publishing, and it's very nice business, and it's nicely profitable. And it didn't start as a business idea. It started as an HR idea. So we actually, like one colleague was kind of bored with the job and wanted to write a book. So we said, like, how hard can it be to publish a book? So we said, okay, we will publish it. Like, don't go somewhere else. We will publish it for you. And that was the first couple of books, how we started doing books. And then we said, okay, it seems it's working. Like our people on our website are actually a lot of readers of books, and they're buying a lot of books. So let's try to buy licenses for foreign books and so on. And now it's still the fastest growing business. So that's like random idea that suddenly became like a very nice business. Another one, like events are becoming quite nice business for us. And we are doing, and again, it started, somehow like we are very bad at like predicting what will work as a business, so we also started the events as kind of, we are doing a big events tour, which is literally called like How to Save the Democracy. Like our reporters and like famous opinion writers are going around the country with sociologists and just in the big theaters, just having a talk show about what shall we do about the Slovak politics. It's horrible. And and suddenly this became really, really very popular because people in like smaller towns, they really appreciate that they can meet our reporters, and they are paying for it, and suddenly it is actually becoming like an interesting business as well, it's not like a lot of publishers had the idea that events can be business. We are kind of always somehow trying to do something which is nice for the country, and somehow it's always profit, not always, but often like it turns out that it can be profitable as well. But we have no like other grand plan like where we can go. We also have a lot of projects, some technological and some just consulting projects in a lot of other countries around Europe, mostly like east from us and south from us. So that's why we are also open with the data, and we are also open with the software. Like we are always open to opportunities to like partner with other media or enter new markets, but only if we kind of see that there is an opportunity for us to, with our kind of anti-oligarchic model, that if there is a media capture in your country, and if someone is squeezing you with advertisement, and if the big media are in the hands of some bad people, we kind of think that we know how we can help, because we have a model how it can work business-wise, at least in a couple of countries.
Okay, fantastic. So before we wrap up, one last question is about the challenges, because we kind of discussed everything that works for you guys. And you said that even when it comes to subscriptions, the whole market is now worried that they are losing subscriptions, are struggling to keep them. You say that Slovakian sky is the limit in case of Dennik N, which is great. But tell me about the biggest challenges over there. What is the kind of thing that really worries you? I mean, we all know the fears in the market. So it's basically plateauing subscriptions. Other people would say traffic from social media is dead. Basically, other people would say it's AI stealing your content and doing something out of it. What is it that really worries Tomas Bella?
Yeah, so I have no idea. Like maybe we will never have more than 72,000 subscribers. So I have no idea if we will have 100,000 or 80,000. So I'm kind of like being humble. Like I just don't know. I just can't predict the future. the challenge, like at the moment, it's obvious, like we have like very hostile government. So like since October, we started spending a lot of time on security and things like that we didn't have to think a lot about before. And I think this is the biggest unknown for us, because the government can do a lot of things to probably not destroy us, but to make our life like harder. And it's like very clearly like hostile towards us, and we are probably like a bit hostile to it in Slovakia. So like the political risk at the moment, I think it's the biggest. And you know that the business risk is there as well. Like they can change the laws and they can tax whatever we are doing more. And you know there are a lot of people on the call from countries where this happened. So that's the biggest thing, and that's why we are like extremely careful, and we are kind of hoarding cash in preparation of like bad things that will happen. And we were kind of like waiting for bad things to happen here for 10 years. And it didn't happen so far, but now, you know, the situation is quite like dangerous politically, right? So that's in terms of like our internal situation in Slovakia. In terms of the future, like we still have we don't know what to do with the audio. And it's not terrible what we are doing, but it's not like we have a strategy, which we are trying a lot of things, and we have failed in many of those things. I think it's good that we are experimenting a lot, even like when I was showing this image of the AI, and we still have this kind of spirit of let's try it and then let's apologize if it will be bad, because some of the images are really horrible and a lot of people complained, and it took us like a couple of months to just get to the level of like acceptable quality. You know? So, but I think this is a good thing that we can people will forgive us a lot of experimentation. And then we get it wrong 2 times, and 3rd time we get it right, and we will just keep doing that. And that's connected to AI, you know. And otherwise, I don't know. Like you have to all you from the more lucky countries at this moment, you have to keep fingers crossed for the Slovak democracy. Like of course we have something like a Trump bump. We have a little bit of Fico bump. Like anytime our prime minister like shouts on us on the press conference, the subscriptions go a little bit up, but still we would actually prefer to have like a normal government to this. And we also have like more or less the like stagnation of the subscription. So I think it's the problem that everyone in the world sees, but we still see that there are a lot of things we can try to actually make it better.
We do keep our fingers crossed for Dennik N, because you guys have been an inspiration for many media workers in Central Europe. Thank you so much, Thomas, for your time. Thank you for everyone in the audience. The recording of this webinar will be available soon. We will get in touch with everyone. Thank you so much once again to everyone, and see you somewhere around. Thank you so much. Good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.